What if the surface of the Earth became too blisteringly hot to survive, forcing an entire city to relocate deep into the bedrock? Imagine walking out of your front door, but instead of looking up at a blue sky, you are looking at a cathedral of solid granite, brilliantly illuminated by an artificial sun. Step inside the massive subterranean fortress, where millions of people live, work, and thrive without ever seeing the actual sun. Welcome back to Impossible Builds. I'm so glad you're here today because we are looking at something that feels like pure science fiction, but the engineering behind it is completely real. Today, we are heading to the unforgiving Australian outback. Up top, the summer sun is an absolute predator, and the environment is turning hostile. But instead of abandoning the desert, engineers are carving a $150 billion miracle straight into the Earth's crust. We are not just digging a basement, we are waging a brutal subterranean war to conquer solid granite bedrock and build a sprawling metropolis underground. So grab a snack, settle in, and let's break down exactly how human ambition defeats the ultimate extreme environment, step by step. To build a city underground, your first problem is the dirt, or in this case, 1.7 billion-year-old solid rock. You cannot just use standard backhoes and shovels for this. You need an absolute monster. Enter the tunnel boring machine, or TBM. Think of this machine as a subterranean cruise ship that grinds solid rock into dust. It is a massive factory on wheels, sometimes stretching over 170 meters long. The front of the machine features spinning discs with tungsten carbide cutters that chew through the absolute hardest granite the Earth has to offer. As the TBM slowly grinds the mountain, it swallows the rock, sending it backwards on a massive conveyor belt system. But here is where it gets crazy. A machine this big wears out. The cutter heads get destroyed by the rock, and replacing them means workers have to physically enter a pressurized chamber right at the tunnel face, which is one of the most dangerous jobs in all of modern construction. And for the absolute hardest rock that even a TBM struggles to chew through, engineers have to rely on a brutal traditional cycle. It's called NATM, and the rhythm goes like this: drill, blast, muck, shotcrete, and rock bolt. It is a relentless 24-hour-a-day assault on the Earth. You drill 50 to 80 holes per blast face, pack them with explosives, and use millisecond delay blasting so the shock waves don't completely shatter the surrounding mountain. Once the dust settles, automated trains haul the mountain of spoil out, one load at a time. By the way, they don't just throw that rock away. It is crushed right on site and reused as concrete aggregate to line the very tunnels they are digging. Now you might be thinking, okay, you've dug a massive cavern. You can start building the skyscrapers now, right? Wrong. The moment you carve out a cavern large enough to hold a city block, the mountain instantly fights back. The rock pressure is immense, acting like a giant vice trying to crush the empty void you just created. If you just walked away, the ceiling would collapse in days. To stop the city from caving in before it is even built, the engineers perform an incredibly high-stakes balancing act. Immediately following every single blast, rock bolt crews move in. They drill tens of thousands of heavy steel bolts, sometimes over 110,000 of them, deep into the ceilings and walls. Think of each bolt like a massive nail physically holding the mountain together. Right behind them, shotcrete crews spray specialized liquid concrete over every blasted surface, permanently locking the colossal rock structure in place. But an earthquake could still bring the whole thing down. So instead of bolting the city's buildings directly to the cavern floor, engineers build them to float. Every structure inside this underground metropolis is mounted on massive shock absorbers, resting on gigantic steel springs spanning up to 3 feet in diameter. This allows the entire building to move and flex up to 12 inches during a seismic event without shattering. You could literally have a massive earthquake outside, and the people drinking coffee in their subterranean apartments would barely feel a thing. All right, so the cavern is stable and the buildings are shockproof, but a subterranean city is an absolute death trap without air and water. This fortress needs lungs. To keep millions of residents breathing, engineers carve 400-meter vertical shafts straight up through the rock to the surface. Inside these shafts, they install powerful ventilation systems with the raw power of jet engines to create a constant, life-saving jet of fresh air through the massive caverns. And what about the heat? You see, the deeper you go into the Earth's crust, the hotter it gets. Near the blast faces, temperatures can easily hit 95 degrees Fahrenheit, and the heavy machinery makes it even hotter. To keep the city from becoming a giant underground oven, they deploy massive liquid cooling networks, pumping chilled water through pipes embedded in the concrete. A brilliant technique first perfected almost a century ago during the construction of the Hoover Dam. Speaking of water, where does a desert city get its drinking supply? Up on the blisteringly hot surface, they install massive fields of atmospheric water generation panels. These devices literally pull moisture directly out of the thin desert air and turn it into pure, mineralized drinking water. It's completely solar-powered, and the water is stored deep underground in massive, shock-proof reservoirs, each capable of holding 1.5 million gallons. Finally, the moment of truth arrives. The heavy steel, the suffocating dust, and the thunder of explosives are gone. The digital brain of the city takes over. You see, human beings aren't meant to live in pitch blackness, so engineers install colossal artificial daylight simulating LEDs across the cavern ceilings. This brings a perfect artificial sun to the abyss, complete with a circadian rhythm cycle that mimics the sunrise and sunset on the surface. A $150 billion gamble pays off. What started as a barren, hostile patch of outback dirt has been transformed into a stunning, multi-level, radiation-proof city hidden completely beneath the rock. It features automated transit moving silently beneath your feet, and vertical farms feeding the population without a single drop of rain. It is no longer just a bunker. It is a living, breathing ecosystem built entirely by human hands and heavy machines. They said surviving the harshest environment on Earth was impossible, but progress always demands we push the absolute limits of physics, material science, and human ingenuity. We didn't just dig into the dirt, we built a future. Thank you so much for joining me on this incredible deep dive. I want to hear from you now. Which extreme megaproject or which country should we deconstruct next? Tell me your wild ideas in the comments below. I read all of them, and your idea might just be our next massive video. If you love exploring the absolute peak of human engineering, please hit that like button and make sure you subscribe to Impossible Build so you never miss an episode. Stay curious, keep building, and I will see you on the next one.